Well, you're watching New Car Spin, and this is Mazda's CX-30. You might say, hey, that looks a lot like the Mazda 3 in there, and you'd be correct. I see everything in here from the Mazda 3. I do not like the dash color, though. It's a very weird color that sort of tries to match the CX-5's color, which is like a more of a caramel color. But, you know, the CX-30 is more of a budget-style car, although to me it doesn't make any sense. And there's cars coming. Not anymore. Okay, good. I want to show you why this car doesn't make any sense. That's because from the outside it looks like a Mazda CX-3, but there's an extra 0 at the end, and it is an all-wheel drive model, which means it's great for the rain, but it has this lackluster ACTIV-g engine, and that's basically the worst part of this vehicle. Now, you might say, hey, what happened to the Mazda CX-3? No, they still make the CX-3. Sorry, it's windy there. I mean, it's an okay looking vehicle. I don't think it's as good looking as the CX-5, but it does have headlights that swivel in corners, and obviously all-wheel drive, like I said. It's got, let's see, keyless entry, folding rear seats, right? Yeah, yep, right here, very nice. So it's got an okay packaging. Oops. Hate it when that happens, right? But it's not as nice as the CX-5. It does have your traditional instrumentation there, where the center is digital and the exterior two, the flanking ones, are analog. And I do like the way it shows the speed limit as red, and then as you extend over the speed limit, it shows you a warning. And it has a newer nav system than the CX-5. It's directly out of the Mazda 3, which is part of what makes this thing not make any sense. And why not just get the Mazda 3 hatchback? Why do you have to get the SUV? It's not like everyone who's going to buy this is going to get the all-wheel drive version. So to say, oh, I don't want the hatchback, I want the SUV, unless you were looking for ground clearance in the snow, I don't see why you'd go for this, because this is almost Mazda's worst car, in the sense that, yeah, it's the Mazda 3 on the inside, and it's the Mazda 3 engine, but what's wrong with the Mazda 3 hatchback, and what's wrong with the CX-3 or the CX-5? Why did you need something in between those? It makes no sense to me. But still, let's take it around the block. We have a manual mode and a drive mode, and we have a sport button, which I'm not going to use any of this because let's do electronic park and brake. The reason why I'm not going to use any of it is because the transmission in this car is the worst. It really holds this car back. It really detracts from the enjoyment of and the practicality of this vehicle. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me just make my way over to that side road. There's some gardeners here blowing stuff in front of me. Okay. So the problem I have is there's a huge hesitation off the line when you need to punch it. So in this case, it's a one-way street and there's a bunch of cars coming. Can't take that. But you'd expect a Mazda to perform. Most Mazdas do really they haul, except for this one. The Mazda 3, which has the same engine, just cannot get off the line nicely enough, which is why the Mazda 3 sedan is a great commuter car. And that was floored. And I know I'm spoiled sometimes with a lot of vehicles that have more power, but the price of this car does not reflect the performance at all. And there are a lot of cars these days that have great interiors, like, for instance, the Mazda 3 hatchback. The CX-5 is even better. You can get Napa leather in it. Alright, merge onto the road here. In front of me is a CX-5, and apparently what Mazda told me was that the CX-30 was made because people say the CX-5 is too big for them. Sorry, that's a CX-3. I always get confused. Alright, no, that's a CX-5, that's the older one. No, that's the newer one. That's a nasty color, that's all. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with that. Alright, so that's a much better vehicle. It doesn't look that much bigger than the CX-30, so I don't understand why Mazda has a CX-30. This car makes no sense. I don't have a panoramic roof, I don't have napa leather, but what I'm spending... Oh, let me get the glove box. Window sticker right here. I'll show you what I'm spending when I come to this red light. This is a press car, by the way. Mazda gave me this car for a week. Thank you, Mazda. Alright, so you're not really buying it for the fuel economy, 32 on the highway. You'd probably do a little bit better with the hatchback. But you're spending 31, 670, I think that is. Why? How come I always get blurry window stickers? Anyway, the problem I have here is they've got so many vehicles now at this price point that it's almost hard to make up your mind. And I think that's because they're like, oh, well, you know, for what you want, we don't have that in, but we've got this one in, and you can leave with it today. That's almost the theory I'm going to go with here. It just seems like Mazda has found that they have a gap, you know, like, oh, we're not selling 3,000 cars in the United States because people want what, you know, I think, honestly, people have come up with an excuse not to buy a car, and the dealer says, no, they say the CX-5 is too big, and the CX-3 is too whatever, and no one wants the 3 hatchback, so they came out with this. Anyway, like I was saying, it's a CX-30, so what I'm looking at here is something that's trying to be as nice as the CX-5, and it does that very well. And it's trying to be bigger than the 3 hatchback, and I guess it does that very well, but it's missing that style, and it's missing that substance that the hatchback provides. That hatchback was just a really good looking, very out there design, and it actually made sense being lower to the ground. And that's the issue I have here, is the way this thing rides. It bounces, it bucks, it bobs. It translates every nuance of the road right into the cabin. Every other Mazda, all the other Mazdas are far better than this one. There we go. It has auto headlights. It's got all the features you'd expect. I even have heated seats. But the biggest downfall here is the ride quality and the lack of power. Listen to this thing moan. That's floored. You know, the performance aspect of it is really key, but I think the whole point of this car is to drive it in the city, to drive in stop and go traffic. By the way, you can, because it has radar cruise. This is the premium trim. But you're not getting anything out of the car after you leave the city. Whereas in the CX-5, you gain everything. I think the CX-5 is one of my favorite cars. It even has, in the CX-5, vented seats, which are not here. So, yeah, for 10 grand more to get the CX-5 signature all-wheel drive, you're definitely getting everything that Mazda can give you. Whereas here in the CX-30, what you're not getting is the Mazda 3 sedan or hatchback, which are fantastic. Whereas in here, you're getting, you're getting a market segment car. You're getting something that marketing put together. And to me, this is not a Mazda. And this may sound harsh, but this is just not what I expected. I expected the CX-30 to be maybe a sportier version of the CX-3. but it isn't. I expected it to be a better handling, better riding car than the CX-30, and it isn't. So then I got in it, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe it'll redeem itself as opposed to the hatchback. And it can't. So this is it, the Mazda CX-30. It looks good. I mean, all Mazdas now have this great material and everything, but what you don't get is Napa leather. What you don't get are vented seats. You just don't get a lot of things you get on the CX-5. And all I could say is, if you're getting this car, I'm pretty sure it was because the dealer kind of made it the only opportunity for you. Anyway, it's raining. I'm just getting over the spring forward on the clock. I did show you how this thing reacts to spring forward. It's pretty cool. The GPS automatically adjusts the clock. And we do have all the same features in here you'd expect in the Mazda 3. And I reviewed the hatchback and the sedan. But given that it's raining, I'm going to sign off. Mazda CX-30 is somewhat dull in my mind. It's probably the worst ride Mazda's made as far as the suspension quality. But it has all the features: heads up, digital display, navigation, heated seats, all-wheel drive, blah, 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 blah. You see what I mean? It's just they shoehorn something into a little segment for people who want to buy something, and I don't understand it. Maybe it's for mommy bloggers. Thanks for watching.